I think we're good.
Okay. So good morning, Joe.
Good morning, Ann.
Nice to see you again.
How's
Well,
everything?
meeting. Yeah. Yeah. Happy Friday. Yeah,
Happy Friday.
I think. Um, so today we're going to reveal about the journal that accompanies the book, Tijuana Mañana, the Anxious Iguana. But I was thinking there might be some people who are watching the videos out of order. So I thought we could just do a quick run through of the book. So I will share a screen so we can go through that real quick. And here is the Tijuana Mañana, the Anxious Iguana book. And this was inspired by a child I was working with who really didn't want to do anything related to sight words. And the child hid under the table and wouldn't come out. And so that kind of made me think of this story. So, Joe, you did such a fantastic job of taking the idea and running with it with your illustrations. And they're just great and so relatable with the kids. And the kids do like the story. And so it is about Tijuana Mañana who has to do sight words, but of course it can be any task that a child doesn't want to do. It doesn't have to be just sight words. And so the mom tells him it's time and he hides under his blanket. He's in fight or flight mode now. Just the mere word itself sends him under the blanket to hide out. And so she's trying to respond in a caring, controlled way that helps him feel calmer, even though he is in fight or flight mode. So she's in what we talk about in the story, her upstairs brain. She can think through how to respond to him. She's not triggered emotionally. She's not in fight or flight mode herself. So she's able to help him understand what he's feeling because he feels like it's a hawk that's ready to attack him. And really, it's a homework assignment, but it feels like a hawk. So he goes into protection mode. And so then his mom starts to explain to him about his brain and how it works. And this was really important to me to share with kids because so many kids feel that there's something negative about this. And I try to reassure them that their brain is just protecting them. And then this is a fun way to explain to them that they have an upstairs brain, which is the thinking part of our brain, and a downstairs brain, which is the emotional part. And it's the part that reacts very quickly because it keeps us alive. So his brain thinks that that hawk is going to get him. So the downstairs brain jumps right in to try to protect him. I love this drawing, Joe, of the downstairs brain protecting Tijuana because the sight words are so threatening to him. Um, so she is trying to help him understand, explain that this happens with other kids and he can relate to what she's saying. He's saying, oh yeah, my friend's mom tells him to take some deep breaths when he's feeling this way. And so he starts thinking about things that maybe he could do, not really solving the problem yet, but just trying to think, I had that big reaction. How can I start coming down from that big reaction? How can I get my nervous system back in balance? And so they talk about a few things that could help him feel calmer, and he generates these ideas. And then um, she he feels a little encouraged now. Like now he is thinking a little bit more with his upstairs brain. His downstairs brain is not as reactive, and you can see the upstairs brain and downstairs brain are thinking, well, maybe it will be okay if it's fun. And so they talk about how to work together, the upstairs brain and downstairs brain, so it doesn't feel like that hawk ready to attack you. And the she's explaining to him that the downstairs brain is having a big reaction and can't even hear the upstairs brain. The mom is trying to be his upstairs brain because his isn't available in that moment. So she's trying to help the downstairs brain hear, you're safe. I'm here, right here. We can work. We can do this together. I can help you be ready to do that. And so she's then starts talking to him a little bit about once he's calmer, about how practicing actually builds a stronger connection between the upstairs brain and the downstairs brain. It strengthens those stairway that goes between the upstairs and downstairs. And actually, kids can end up thinking, oh, we played a game that made it more fun. Or I did the hard work and I did it. Or this isn't as hard as I thought. I actually can do it, but only because the upstairs brain is telling the downstairs brain, I got this. It's okay. It's not life threatening. And so they talk a little bit about ways he's grown, things that he didn't used to know how to do. And they work together to think about, well, what are things that could make me feel calm when there's something that feels threatening to me? So she goes through a few affirmations like, I can read words when I'm calm. The more words I learn, the more confident I feel. And then he starts thinking, oh, well, I can do that. I can think of ways to be calm and be able to do what the big kids are doing, because I've seen them do games like charades. That looks fun. And his mom says, yeah, fun is the opposite of boring. Your brain loves that. So he gives it a shot with reading. And then he starts feeling like, I am learning to read. He gets excited and starts jumping around and says, I'm not Tijuana Mañana, I'm Tijuana today. Joe, could you take over for just a minute?
Sure. So, let's see. What can I say about this? Well, with I can just say like my part where I got a lot of the ideas for gestures and poses, and since I did teach for a while, I taught for about 6 years from TK all the way through eighth grade, and a variety of different roles, but mostly computers and teaching the kids how to use iPads and all that. But just in the course of the classes, I just love watching the kids and how they reacted. And so a lot of how Tijuana acts or reacts is a lot of it is from watching the kids in my class. So that's what it was easy to pull references from. So for all the characters, not only for this book, but also for Mission Control as well.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Joe, for taking over.
Yeah,
Um, so then I wanted to go over today a little bit about the journal, like I said at the beginning. So this is the inside of the book. And I just feel like if kids and parents, I always do this with my clients, if kids and parents work together to come up with a plan, it always goes smoothly because parents can then preview, oh, remember, we have a plan. So when we do this activity that seems hard, we know what to do. And when kids see the predictability that a plan affords, then they're more willing to do it because they realize, oh, I've done this plan before. It's not that threatening to me. I know what to expect. I know that it only lasts 10 minutes or whatever it is, and it doesn't go on forever. And I can do it. And so that I thought it was important to try to help families come up with their own plan for doing hard things. Again, whether it's recite words or some other skill for school, like math vacs or anything, brushing your teeth, anything, then I'm hoping that the model of Tijuana's journal can help kids say, oh, here's what Tijuana did. Because the way that Joe and I did the book, the goal is really for kids to relate to the character, the main character in the book. And in that Mission Control book, kids really do relate to Joseph because kids don't like doing hard things. And Joseph helps kids realize there are solutions to problems. And he models how to do that and models how he grows from that. And so the same with Tijuana, and kids can relate to him as well. So if kids can say side by side, here's Tijuana's journal, here's how he filled in the blanks, here's your journal, would you like to fill in the blanks? And a lot of times kids can come up with their own ideas for sure, and parents can make suggestions, but sometimes they really can't come up with very many ideas. And so they can use Tijuana's ideas. And that's fine too, because it's a starting place for them. It helps them have a plan. So this can be written, of course, with anybody, but part of the idea behind the story is that the purpose of the story is that kids like to have somebody sitting with them, helping them through something hard. And that's important to them. And being able to make it a game is important to them. And those two factors really make a difference for kids. And parents can provide a lot of support for them. And even if it's a lot of support at the very, very beginning and weaning to less and less support as kids gain more confidence and ability, that's the goal. But at the beginning, just want to see them be successful with a plan. So providing full support if necessary to help the child get through doing the plan and seeing, oh, this is helpful. So Tijuana says, when I feel like reading is too much, I can work together with my mom. So fill in the blank with whatever the task is that seems like it's too much, and who's going to do it with you. And so then she will, in Tijuana's case, she will listen to my big feelings and will share her calm with me so I feel safe. This is so important that parents be the ones who are in the upstairs brain themselves so that they can be the upstairs brain for their child. So kids can't necessarily do that on their own. So they really do need someone who can slow things down, take some deep breaths themselves, be in a place, be present with a child, be understanding, show empathy, all those things for the child in that moment, and take the time, not rush through it, not try to get to a solution, but to just be with the feelings. Because probably 100% of the time, if I take the time and do that with kids, it might take the full hour session, sometimes, not usually, or it might take just a few minutes, or more typically, it might take 15 or 20 minutes for kids to be able to shift into that mode away from the fight or flight response and into the mode of, I feel calmer now. I can do this. And then they can always solve the problem themselves, or with a little help from a parent to guide or to make suggestions. But the actual solving the problem of what am I going to do? Like Tijuana says, well, I'm going to count or take Buster for a walk or blow bubbles or something like that. Kids can come up with those ideas themselves, generally. I sometimes give help, but if I put it in their lap, if I impose it and say, we're going to do this, that doesn't usually go down very well. If they're capable and they're in a place where they're willing to actually solve the problem, decide what they're going to do, because they all know that in the end they're going to do it. But if I give them the time and space to do that, they generally can figure it out themselves. And if they can't, it can mean that they truly can't, and they just don't have enough experience or practice doing that, or it might mean that they're just not ready yet. And I misjudged that. So I can go back and give more time. So, oh, I see you're not quite ready. Let's just take a little more time. So that's really critical. It's the most important thing out of everything is the modeling, is the parent being calm themselves to help the child calm. So continuing, even when I'm having a hard time with my big feelings, my mom, will be there to help. We can even do something together to help because we have a plan. So he's making suggestions. We could count together. We could take Buster for a walk. One of the handouts that we went over last week has a lot of ideas of things that people can do that might be fun to do. And, dance parties, take a break, ride your scooter around the block. When kids get out of the situation, and then when they come back to try another time, sometimes they just have to change the channel kind of, and then give them a break from it, let their brain calm. And then when I bring them back, they're ready to do it. So doing these things like taking Buster for a walk can make Tijuana more ready to come back and actually do the sight words because the brain has just settled down a little bit. That so he says that will help me feel a little less upset because she's helping me. So Joe, you drew those great pictures of the stairs of the upstairs brain and downstairs brain. And yeah, they got to work together. Plus the stairs between them will get stronger from practicing. I'll get used to practicing and learning new things. My mom and I can play games to help me focus when I'm practicing. This same child that I mentioned, who is, sort of was the inspiration behind the story, as soon as I said, I have an idea for a game, the child popped out from under the table and said, okay, let's play. So it just makes it amazing difference when a child thinks that it's play. And when a child, if you know a child is in fight or flight, it's not going to, it's so much easier to shift if they, or to not even, or to even better start with a game aspect of something that makes it so much easier. So what I often do with kids is I start like for me when I'm doing individual work, if I'm working on handwriting, for example, I get the kids to the table by giving them a maze to do or something fun with paper and pencil. And then I can shift into something that's a little more challenge. And then I can end with something that's fun again. So I have a way to encourage them to get over there. I have a way to do the just right challenge for them and then end on a positive note. So it's sort of the same idea with any kind of situation. So games are a good way to get a child to the table. You can do a little bit of work and then end with another game. Memory games are great for this. Charades games, like I showed and like we did in the story, all those are things that kids really, really like to do. And it can be very low level games. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be big creative ideas. Again, I've got all kinds of fun activities that we went over in the last week's session that are available online to give a starting place. So then the next part says, following the plan my mom and I make will help me feel more confident. And that's the idea that kids have to feel confident. If they don't feel confident, they don't want to tackle it. They feel like it might be too hard for them. So it is practice that builds that confidence. And kids are hearing the saying, not practice makes perfect now, but practice makes progress. And that's it. I'm feeling, oh, this used to be hard. That's why that's in the story too. It used to be hard for you to even eat. It used to be hard for you to crawl. It used to be hard for you to do lots of things. And now look at what you can do. And kids like to feel like, oh, I did all that. So I'm ready to be whatever, in this case, Tijuana Mañana, but not Tijuana Mañana, Tijuana today. And kids can give themselves a name or they can just say, I'm ready to do the hard work or whatever. So here's the space where they can fill in their own answers. And Joe, did you have any more you wanted to share about your drawings or anything
Yeah.
here?
Um, I approached this with the idea that it was going to be kind of like journal slash diary slash like sketchbook. And so I
Yeah.
remember when I was in elementary school, only because, I was always like very into art, I was always doodling. And that's what I call all of this is like, okay, so if I was just imagining myself as Tijuana working, with his mom on the journal, I was thinking, well, maybe he's thinking and then he gets, a little idea. And so when he writes in like my mom, it's like, well, he loves his mom. So he puts some hearts on there. And so, oh, Buster, I'm going to just draw Buster's face, and so that's kind of the look. And it's like, I thought maybe this could be a little inspirational for when someone does have the journal and they have their places to fill in, like kind of like Mad Libs, right? And so it's like, okay, fill this in. And then if they see inspiration from what Tijuana did, then maybe they'll do a little doodle of themselves or their dog or their cat or something. So that's how I approach this.
Yeah, I love that idea. I think that's great because kids do like to do that sometimes. And I think it's a great soothing activity too, it can be for kids.
Hmm.
Um, so then the next part is just the plan for reading sight words. So how will an adult know you need a little help with your big feelings? Well, what are the signs that parents recognize? Again, last week we went over some of the things that you might see very overtly, as well as a little bit more subtly, that indicate that a child is gone into fight or flight or freeze mode. And so again, somebody can, the listeners can go and find those on the website. Once we get the book published, and all of that's on the website. Where do you think you will feel those big feelings in your body? So this is also an element that is brought into the mission control book. Spaceman Sam talks about feel it, say it, calm it, and solve it. And feel it is how can you where do you feel it in your body? Most kids point to somewhere on their head that they feel it. That I don't think they're conscious of it or even aware of it until I ask the question. And then the idea is, if you recognize that in your body's giving you a message that says, oh, I'm feeling this way. I should do something about it. I should let someone know. But again, kids don't always know to take that step. So that's where the adult can help kids recognize through their body language that they need help. Oh, are you feeling something in your head? Oh, I see your body's really wiggly. Looks like maybe we should go and take a little break and go play a game, something like that. So that's an important thing, recognizing in your own body. And I think all adults can recognize those kinds of feelings when a child is starting to get agitated. We have those reactions in our own body. So it's a signal for us too. Oh, I should pay attention to that. I should do something because I am aware of that. And I have a plan for what to do when I have that feeling. A common one is like butterflies in your stomach because you're excited about something or nervous about something. It's that idea. What thoughts do you think you might have? So again, this is another signal that says, oh, if I start feeling like it's too much, or I think that I might get in trouble for something, those are also signs that I should pay attention to and get help for. But again, an adult will probably be the one who needs to help with that until a child gets more practiced and able to think of how to do that on their own or recognize those thoughts in their own head. There's a little visual of a triangle where thoughts affect feelings, feelings affect behavior, behavior affects thoughts. So it goes around like that. Everything's interconnected. And so when you have that feeling, even if it's interoception, meaning inside the body that we can feel it, like hunger or some kind of upset, then that and does connect to our feelings and does connect to our behaviors and back to all the way around the triangle. So if we have a thought like, I'll never be able to do this, then it is going to affect our feelings. A lot of kids think I'm a bad kid because I'm not doing this, or I'm a dumb kid. And those are the words they use. And so if that's a consequence of how they're going to feel, if they think that they are being asked to do something that's too much, then we'll see a behavioral response because of that thought. But if we can change the thought from Tijuana Mañana to Tijuana today, then the child will feel like, I'm more confident. I have the confidence to do this. I'm able to do this. I need maybe some help, but I can do it. And I feel like I have the support to do hard things. Then the behavior is going to be very different. They'll say, okay, I'll do this. And and they'll actually grow from the experience and feel, and that will push them forward to the next step. And that's sort of the connecting the upstairs brain and downstairs brain and building the strength of those stairs so that it's easier the next time because they practice something hard today. And then how would you like an adult to remind your downstairs brain that there's not really an emergency? And again, kids are not going to necessarily be able to do this on their own and recognize that. But parents can say, oh, we have a plan. Remember, we're going to count by tens to 100. And kids love doing that. And I found something at the Lakeshore Learning Center, but any teacher learn supply store probably. And you know those little poppets that are popular now where you poke a hole, poke your finger into a little rubbery kind of thing and it makes a pop sound. And I I found one that had 1 to 100, and they're mesmerizing for kids. And I did some math work with a child this week using that, because he was working on division. How many groups of 3 puppets can go into 12? But kids could take that and go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, all the way to 100 doing the little puppet. So now you're bringing in more sensory to the brain because you're doing something active and it's fun. And this little boy that I was working with said, "Oh, this is fun. It makes doing the math a lot better." And again, that message of it's fun. So I'm sure you can find those little, I don't know what those things are called, but kids love them. They're everywhere. Every possible thing that anyone could imagine has been turned into one of those puppet things. And
Ah,
but I was really happy to see that one because I can see all kinds of opportunities to use that with kids and make math more fun. But also you can use it and say, like, let's keep track of how many times you were able to, how many words you were able to read today. So you'd use a little puppet to keep track of how many times you did it, for example. So that's just a way to kind of help calm the brain down a little bit, to say it's not an emergency, because if I can play, if I can breathe, then it's not an emergency. The next question says, what would help your downstairs brain to start hearing your upstairs brain so they can start working together? And Tijuana says, I think walking Buster together, since I think that my downstairs brain would pay attention to how cute he is. So again, it's just a fun thing. And I love your drawing there. I love Buster. And then when your upstairs brain and your downstairs brain start working together, what messages do you think will encourage you to practice reading so the staircase will get stronger? Anything that's fun, anything that's together, anything that's a game. In his case, the idea of an actual message, I don't have to know everything about reading yet. Practicing will help me learn more. Those are messages that are, again, listed in the handouts that we discussed last week. So there's lots of options of things that kids can choose from. Parents can kind of sort through and maybe give 2 or 3 options to a younger child. But kids can relate to those. If I ask them, which one do you think will help you remember that you can do hard things? And they will pick something, maybe more than one thing. And so it is another tool to help kids because they can relate to those kinds of things. So, and here is the worksheet that's blank for the kids. And then the last part is here. What tools will you, an adult, use to help your upstairs brain focus? Oh, sorry, Joe, did you have comments on that?
no, it's basically the same thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
just doodling.
yeah. Well, I think it adds a lot. First of all, it doesn't feel like too much on the page. And
Hmm.
second of all, it adds fun to it. And again, like you said, doodle.
Yeah,
It's
and
very,
it's kind of like a visual prompt too for whoever has the journal. They can look back and then, oh, okay, I get it. Maybe graphically, that gives me an idea, kind of thing.
absolutely. And that reminds me of, like, I don't think like you do, Joe, which is why we make a good team, because I think in words and you think more in pictures. But I was thinking about Mission Control, a Big Feelings Adventure that we did together. And we made that gauntlet on his sleeve with his tool kit that
Mhm.
helped him know, oh, when I'm in distress, these are some things I can do. That's what he does in his big imagination. And I was putting words on with kids and helping kids write words. But then I had a boy who said, oh, I'm drawing pictures. And I thought, perfect. Yes, of course. Drawing pictures is his visual prompt, like you're saying. So, yeah, thinking about what kind of brain does your child have and what's the best way to tap into that. So I love that hint, Joe. That's great. So what tools will you an adult use to help your upstairs brain focus? I think maybe playing a memory game with the sight words would be fun. Anything, you know, lots of times there's games like these aren't in the handouts or anything, but I have just bean bags, and I will sometimes use bean bags and a target. Like you can make it easy, like a box. And everybody's got Amazon boxes probably around, so you can just use those boxes and you put sight word on the outside of the box and say, throw it into the word that says said, and then they toss it in. You've made a game and it's super simple and easy. So just be creative. I have little circles that I put sight words on, and they jump on the circles or inside hoops or anything. It's super easy to make up a very simple game. Do you think following this plan will be easy or hard? Well, most kids are going to think it's hard at first. Well, and as he says, at first, I think it will be hard, but maybe after my birthday, it will start to feel easier. So if there's a birthday around a time a child is trying to do something, they love birthdays so much. You can like, it's sort of like the elf on the shelf, but in a different way, that they really like the game aspect of that. And, you know, gamifying is becoming so popular now. So this is kind of a way, it's not really a game, but it is the idea of fun, 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 doing something that's hard, but gamifying it. So let's talk about how your birthday and how you're growing. And this is a way to make a kid excited about something because, oh, now that you're 5 or now that you're 7, you're able to do this. But when you were 3, you couldn't do it. So you can use birthdays in a lot of ways that make kids feel more confident and proud of being older. Do you think you'll be able to follow the plan? Yes, but at first with my mom doing it with me until I feel more confident to do it alone. So obviously you see the answers are things that I see in my practice with kids and what's successful. And so these are really guiding words for the adults working with the child, and the kids will put it in their words. And I'll turn it around sometimes, like refine the child's message in a way that's a little bit closer to maybe some of the things that are written here, because they don't know how to put that into words, their thoughts into words very accurately. A lot of times they don't have the vocabulary. So I guide a little bit. Do you mean this? Yeah. And even if they didn't even know that's what they meant, they agree to it because it feels good. And they need a little boost to be clearer about the direction they want to go in. And then what feeling do you think you'll have each time you practice? I think I will feel encouraged and proud that my brain is growing. And I've had to laugh at that picture, Joe. So,
He's growing.
yep. And what would be helpful to remember when it's time to practice together again tomorrow? Just do it, and then maybe when Pop comes to visit, I can show him what I've learned. And then he will know why my new name is Tijuana today. So just looking for ways to encourage kids, looking for ways to give them the message they can do it with a lot of support and a lot of understanding on the part of the parents, because they've read through some of the handouts that I've created that are available on the website, and because there's just more education on the part of the parents, for one thing, because of what's going on with the child's brain, because it can look just behavioral if we don't understand what's going on underneath for the child. And that's where a lot of the handouts that I created, they're an attempt to help people have a toolkit right there available to know what to do in the moment, as well as just education, background information to help understand, like, this is what goes on in the brain. These are ways that you can support your child. Any more comments on this page, Joe?
No, I don't think so.
And I love Pop too. I
Yeah.
mean, I
The
love all your
old
drawings.
iguana.
You would just
The old
yeah,
wise iguana.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, so that's it on the journal.
Do you have a picture of go back down, Nan, right there. So the idea too behind this is like, um, I really wanted it to, if you see the cover and you see these drawings, it's very much like a child would do in their kindergarten or first grade class where they're drawing themselves or drawing mom. So I wanted to keep it very childlike
Uh-huh.
and not super refined. And like, okay, this is what it would look like if he really did have a journal and he's writing with a crayon or something. And so yeah, I just want to maintain that whole look. And if you show the cover, it's kind of the same thing. I wanted to make it look like everything was handmade. Like, what would he do if he was on the island and he only had like scraps of wood to make the cover or something like that?
There's the cover.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I love that because it's bringing in the islands, the Galapagos Islands, and what's available. And there's it's pretty sparse there, frankly. For
yeah,
them, like they have to work hard to get their food and and to survive because there's plenty of predators for sure. And I remember when I went on my trip there, there was a sea lion that was just born, and the guide said, I would estimate that that baby was born like 45 minutes ago. And the
wow,
placenta was out, and there was a hawk circling, circling, circling. And he said that the hawk wanted that placenta. But the mom was really like, the baby wanted to nurse, but the mom's like, no, I got to keep that guy away. I've got to be alert. I can't do that. So it's survival. And that's why I thought this was a
wow,
great uh, um, reason to be writing about some of the animals in the Galapagos. And I have other stories that are coming out also. One is I have a series about blue-footed booby named Seymour, who's going to be coming out. And I just feel like the animals there are they do live from moment to moment in survival mode, and I think that kids unfortunately often feel like they're living in survival mode too. And some of the ways that I think that can help kids in that moment are we've talked about last week and this week. And also, I think that kids are busy, 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 and simplifying schedules is one way for the families who do that. They say life is much easier for them. Kids are not so stressed. And the other thing that parents, again, it's very few who do it, but when they eliminate screen time and they say, I'll never go back because they see such a big difference with their kids. So those are two really big but hard things to do. But parents tell me that the kids don't like it for, a few days. And then they find other things to do. It just becomes like, oh, I don't even think about that anymore
yeah,
as an option. And it might not be all screen time, but it might be not video games or something. But
right,
um, parents, that is a number one thing that parents, no, it's not the number one, but it is a big thing that parents bring to me as a concern. Too much video time, too much fighting, getting off of it, fighting over how long it's going to be, all those things from young children all the way up until teens that I work with. So it's a challenge.
yeah,
And it's a challenge too for parents to figure out how do I set up my schedule. I'm working, I have all these activities that I want my kids to participate in, and there aren't enough hours in the day, and the kids aren't getting their sleep, and parents aren't getting their sleep, all those things. So it's a very, very difficult environment to be raising children and to be teaching children and for kids to be children because it's just since COVID, everything just seems to be magnified.
yeah,
It really had an impact. And every call I get still is some concern related to COVID. Like my child didn't have anybody to play with for all of that time. And now they're 5 or 6 or 4 or whatever, and they don't know how to play with other kids. They don't know how to regulate their emotions. It's still a huge underlying factor that
no,
makes kids go into fight or flight so readily. Yeah.
that's sad.
And we're all, I mean, I think everybody is still on edge from that. It's very disruptive and to our lives. And I think it's going to impact everyone still for a long while. It's just really hard to recover from
Yeah.
something like that and ever find normal again,
Yeah.
like our normal life was like before, our usual routine, those kind of things. Do you have anything more you wanted to share about the journal, Joe?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. So next, well, we won't be meeting again until later in February, but that'll be our last meeting about this, and it'll be a time where people want to have questions. They can email me at nan.arkwright at no info at the badges of power, and we can answer those questions. It'll be live, so if anybody wants to join in, we can make sure you get that link for that. So it's an opportunity to ask questions for anybody who's interested, but also a few other little things that I wanted to share about the book and the journal, and things that I'm sure would you have that you might want to share also, Joe, about the drawings that you've done and why,
Sure.
background behind your thinking.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay, thanks.